Okay, should be recording now. Let me try this again. Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Tar Heel Calendar. I'm Alfred Mathew, and together with Tori Hoffmann, Eric Schneider, and Ezri White, we've built an amazing calendar that incorporates a lot of features from other popular calendars, but also provides a spin of its own. So let's get right to it. So our motivations for creating a calendar were primarily the fact that planning events and tasks are something that basically everybody has to do. And sometimes this can be a difficult task. And if you have a calendar that's easy to interact with, easy to use, it just makes it all the more easier. And another motivation was many of us have used Google Calendar before. And Google Calendar is great, but one feature that it's missing is it doesn't incorporate all your tasks into one streamlined view. So we attempted to solve problems like that with Tar Heel Calendar. And I think you're going to like what we've done. And Eric, do you want to start talking about the creation dependencies?
Yeah, sure. So basically on the front end, we used HTML5, HTML, JavaScript, CSS, obviously. Then on top of that, we used React, Bulma, and Axios. React is kind of used as our framework to create the page basically. Bulma is used to make it look good, and Axios is to connect front end and the back ends. And speaking of the backend, on the back end, we used Node.js along with Express to host the server. Well, in terms of managing the server, to actually host, we used Heroku. And then to store information, we used MariaDB, and then to access and query and modify that information, we used an npm package called MySQL. Since MariaDB is basically a fork of MySQL, it works perfectly fine. So, yeah.
So some of the challenges that we faced when creating this application, on the front end side, the challenges we faced were, since it was our first time working with React, we really struggled to understand how state and props relate to each other, and maintaining a consistent state was also a process of trial and error, and something that we initially struggled with, but eventually we managed to perfect that. Eric, do you want to talk about the backend?
Yeah. So making a backend was pretty hard because none of us have really made a backend before. I've had a teeny bit of exposure to it previously. I kind of understood the concepts, but I've never actually delved into it. So obviously that was very difficult, and there were a lot of just kind of small things that were pitfalls because I wasn't familiar with it. For example, the npm package, I used MySQL to query MariaDB. When I queried something, it would try to do it asynchronous. So I would try to add to the database, and then I would try to fetch from the database, and it wouldn't work because it didn't fully add yet. So that's just something I had to figure out after hours of debugging. So yeah, that part was very difficult. Um, but yeah, I think we made it work. And so yeah, this is our final project. It is hosted on Heroku, like I said, on this URL, and you can see these screenshots of it, which we will demo live. If you want to take over, Tori and Ezri.
Okay, perfect. Let me go ahead and share my screen real quick. Awesome. So this is Tar Heel Calendar. As you can see in the top right corner, we have the option to sign up and log in. So we're just going to go ahead and create a new user to show you guys how that works. So we can go ahead and do a little John Doe. And for the password, we have some password constraints, and it won't actually let you submit a password that doesn't work with that. So we have to make sure we are hitting all of those there. Awesome. Should be good. So we can go ahead and sign up. We get that message that we're successfully registered, which means that we can go ahead and log in. So my username was John Doe, my password, super secret. There we have it, we're logged in. You can see in the top right corner our username and a little icon, which tells us that we are good to go. So this is what you're gonna see when you first log in to your Tar Heel calendar, when you don't have any events yet made. So we can go ahead and make our first event here. So let's say we're gonna present our final project in Virtual Citizen. So we have that autocorrect, which is actually gonna pull from any past events that you made, as well as some just random strings that we decided to put in there. So cool, and let's set that for today. We're doing that at 4 p.m. today. And that's gonna go till 7. And we actually have the ability here to select a category. So you can have categories for like school and work and stuff like that. So we can go ahead and select a color. Let's say we want this to appear in green on all of our calendars. So there we go, we create that event and it goes ahead and just shows up on all of our views. This is our week view, so you can see all of the events for the week ahead. If we go ahead and toggle to our day view, you can see that present final project automatically rendered there as well. On our day view, we also have the ability to create tasks, which is helpful. You're going to keep a running log of tasks that you can update. So I can create a task that says present this project. I can create it. I can strike through it to show me that that task is complete. But if I no longer want it on my task log, I can actually fully delete it as well. So that will go away. We also have these sticky notes where you can just kind of keep notes to yourself or just have a little workspace. But if you're not looking for sticky notes and you want to see some current events, we can also toggle this tool. And it's going to show up with current events, which we're getting from a third-party API. So we can look and see, okay, maybe this one's interesting to me. I can learn more and go to the site where that's from. So CNBC. Awesome, there we go. So we can go back to our Tar Heel calendar, see that our event's still there on the month view and on the day view. And I think Ezri's going to go ahead and show us what it looks like on a calendar that's a little bit more filled out.
All right, let me go ahead and share my screen. All right, so this is my calendar, and you can see I'm logged in up at the top here with my username. And so this is what you would see in a calendar that's being used a little bit more and it's not quite as new of an account. So I went ahead and filled out some of the events that I would typically have during a week. And this is what you would see. And let me click. And so at each event should have a description box that you can toggle on and off just by hovering. And you can use this to see the location and to see the description. In each of our views, you're able to toggle which week you're on, and that'll work in day as well. So here's my events for the 24th. And if I toggle to the next day, I can get my events on the 25th and so on. And then that works in month too. And didn't fill out as many events for December or October, but we can still see that it'll render whatever is for the current month. So if we go back to week, each one you can hover for a description, but you can also go ahead and edit this. So let's say I realized my office hour shift actually goes until 3, not 2:45. I can pop open this edit box by double clicking, and then I'll switch this to 3 o'clock. And we can see that it'll change and render the correct time. Or if I wanted to add a few more notes, so ice cream, yum with friends, the same thing here, render it, and then it'll display properly. Then we can also, if we go to day, you can see a more filled out task list. And if you're still working through your checklist and you want to see that you've completed those tasks, you can continue to strike through them. But if you would like, you can start clearing out the tasks that you have already finished, like so. And if we go back over to week or any of the views, you can also delete events by Xing out of them. So let's say my coffee plans get canceled. So I can delete that event. Or in month, let's see, family Zoom got canceled for the week. So I can go ahead and X out there as well. So yeah, this is what a more filled out calendar would look like. Here we can also edit in day, 426 lecture, exclamation mark. And we can also get rid of events here. So yeah, that covers what it would look like for somebody actually using the calendar on a day-to-day basis. And then I think Eric's going to talk about the back end some more.
Yeah, great job, Bill. I'm doing pretty good on time right now. So yeah, I can talk a little bit more about the back end. Actually, Ezra, if you want to bring up the presentation, may be useful, especially with dependencies. Basically, on the back end, we decided to use Node.js as our core backend component. Basically, because it's something we went over in class a little bit. And we felt it'd probably be easier to, write the back end in JavaScript instead of, like something like PHP, which we haven't worked with. And, it's just convenient to have the back end and the front end written in the same language. As for like Express, Express is just kind of one of the most popular, most basic back-end frameworks to work with. It's not necessarily the best framework, but it's one of the easiest. So that's why we decided to use that. In terms of MariaDB, I think MariaDB was maybe a little bit of an interesting choice, actually. Originally, we were talking about using MongoDB, but most of us weren't familiar with MongoDB very much at all. We decided, since we were using a lot of technology that we weren't especially familiar with, we decided to use maybe something SQL based instead, because like we're all on 521 right now. That's something we're all more familiar with. So we decided to use MySQL, but I did a little bit of research into MySQL, and I learned about MariaDB, which is a little bit less popular, but it's more open source and a little bit more powerful in some ways. So I decided to choose that instead of MySQL. And let's see. We decided to host on Heroku because Heroku is free. That's pretty much the only reason. And it served us pretty well, I think. So yeah, I think that's why we chose what we did on the back end. Does anyone want to talk about parts of the front end, or?
Yeah, I can do one more little demo on what autocomplete looks like once you have more events filled in. So, oh, I forgot I was already sharing my screen. How do I get out of the presentation?
You should be able to press escape, I think.
Okay, there we go. So on the front end, once you have more events or more tasks, it will start to read those in for the autocomplete feature. So if I had deleted this 426 lecture, and so if I wanted to add it back, if I go to type 426, it'll pop up with any events I had, or I think I have 521 and anything like that. So if I do 426, it's typically my teal category. It's usually virtual citizen. Say it's today at, that'll work. There we go. And, oh, I might have put it on the wrong date.
You put it like 4 a.m.
Oh, that would explain it. Found it. But yeah, so we can use the autocomplete features to help us like render events more quickly, or like help the user choose the same events that they've already made. So
another quick note about the front end that I'd just like to chip in is the fact that we've really optimized the way we make get and post and requests and all that stuff. So basically the calendar makes like maybe one request from the server every time it wants to get events for like a new week or a new month. And then from that point on, it just caches that state. And every time you try to make an event locally, it updates the local state and then just sends a request to the server. So we avoid refreshing the page. We really optimize that down, and we really minimize the number of requests in that way.
All right, so we're at about 15 minutes right now. Does anybody want to add any final words? All right, well, thank you for watching this video. Have a blessed day.